how you doing? This is Bobby Davis from Coder Foundry, and I'm here at 12 noon. It is hot as fire here in North Carolina at Kernersville, the tech capital of the world. I'm joined by Kevin Doyle. Hey, say hello to the world, Kevin.
Hey, it is hot today, isn't it?
Man.
We're in a little bit of a heat wave at the minute.
A little bit of heat wave.
I've got all my blinds closed over here, so I don't get too hot because it gets kind of hot up here. The air conditioning gets cranked.
The ongoing saga was the power. The guy cut the power cable
right
across the corner.
Yeah,
and it caused three-phase power to run on two phases, which, if you don't know this, modern air conditioners, like in commercial buildings, run on three-phase power. So these things would run like this, really slowly.
So they were running, but they were running really slow, not enough to keep you cool.
Yeah, and then you could hear all the air conditioners in the business park we're in were all just either squealing or like making bad noises because of it was out everywhere. And so, but one of the boards in one of those things went out. And so yesterday, while I was broadcasting yesterday, it was 82 in here. So today they fixed the board and it's back to a cool 71.
It sucks in there when it gets hot too, because there's no window in there. There's no way you can even like open a window, let air in or anything. It's just hot. It's just hot.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Kind of crazy, man. Like how hot it was. So like, I'm surprised I wasn't sweating, but mostly it was a screen share session, so people couldn't see me. That was like
right. I think if we looked in the corner where you were small, we'd noticed that you were sweating down there.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so it was hot. So, but
that's
today
funny.
It's nice and cool, so I can drink coffee again. So,
oh, there you go. Nice. I like that. Hey, look, Estevan says, "Yay! This was the question that allowed me to find Coder Foundry back almost a year ago." That's cool. Yeah. We do rank high for C# stuff and .NET stuff because when we first launched our channel, it was like one of our primary topics was around this because we were still, before the book even came out, we've always talked about the 5 steps, right? And one of the 5 steps was choosing the stack. So we've always thought that was an important part of the process. We've always thought like you should choose the stack as part of your learning journey. And we've always sort of evangelized for .NET and C#. And no, Microsoft doesn't pay us any money to do that.
Yeah, check this out. You type in .NET Core in Google, Kevin. Look at that.
Yeah, and look what comes up. One of our videos comes up. That's awesome.
Right,
and you come up. Look at that.
Hanselman in the crew.
So there's Scott Hanselman and then us. And I was like, that's cool. That's very cool. Yep.
Right. They still don't give us any money, though. People keep thinking we work for Microsoft. They still don't. So
they don't.
My goal is to get some videos over here. We're going to make a bunch of .NET Core stuff now.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yep.
Enough of our self promotion.
But that's cool. You only told me that this morning. And I watched the statistics for the videos, and I've noticed that one has taken off a little bit more recently.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's not going to catch up with the one coding project video, but it's it's doing okay. So that's cool. So we're going to talk about .NET today. Like I said, we've always thought it was an important part of the process. And from the beginning, it's something that we made videos about from the very beginning of our channel. One of our first videos is probably about .NET. One of our first 2 or 3 is probably a .NET video. And then we've made many, many, many since then. So we're going to talk about today, like why .NET, why we teach it, like why we think you should learn it,
right?
And that kind of thing. That's what we're going to touch on.
For the guys that are new here today, we run a boot camp called Coder Foundry, so we teach .NET, and so like we bank our business on being able to teach something that's in demand. So if we teach something that's not in demand, students don't necessarily get a job without a demand tech. So we try to pick the most in-demand tech. Other thing that I do is also run a consulting company. So we build things with .NET. And so we're going to talk about some specific things that we're doing a little bit right now without mentioning client names, like that we're using .NET to build things with. So when we say, hey, learn .NET, like we're actually eating our own dog food, per se, because like, we use it in the consulting company and we base Coder Foundry's success on being able to find someone with a job that knows C#. Yeah. Right.
And that's pretty much the only reason that we do teach it, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly. the primary driver behind the bootcamp teaching C# and .NET
Exactly. So this is a common thing we get. How powerful is C# with .NET? Took a class this year and it seemed like it's good for just form making.
Okay.
So Victor, I mean that's kind of like if you look at like, and I'm assuming you're talking about ASP.NET. I don't know if you're talking about WinForms or anything like that, but like I think it's really, 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 really powerful. And there's a lot more to it than just automating forms. You know, yeah, it can make a form. I mean, the form's the kind of the basics or the basis of websites anyway. So you're submitting data back and forth between the server and the client, and you use forms to do that. But there's more to it than that, for sure. Just to let you know. So hopefully we can just talk a little bit about like what else you can do. So, all right. So we got a lot of questions here. People are coming in. So leave us some questions if you want to know. Ask your question, and we can definitely try to get you there.
Yeah, I'm going to go down the list here. I'm going to start from the beginning. Some guys were here early. I don't know if they're still here or not, but Jeremy was here early. Was happy that we're covering .NET and that it's been his bread and butter for a few years now. So that's cool.
It's a lot of people's
somebody
bread and
who's
butter.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of hidden people's bread and butter. I think it's one of those like people don't talk about it much. And we've talked about this before. It's like .NET developers are too busy writing applications and less writing Medium articles about it. You get these hip languages that are out there writing a lot of stuff about them, but these guys are off making cool things and actually doing work.
Right. So, while we're on YouTube, we're not exclusively YouTubers. So, like, we make our money based on .NET. So I want people to understand that too. So these are things that I don't recommend lightly. It's just stuff that we do. So, but, what we tell you today may not hold true in every part of the world. So, do your research. And that's kind of cool. So Troy's got like a consulting question here, man.
Okay.
He's rewriting large web forms application in Razor Pages or WebAI with React. How to choose the appropriate direction.
Oh.
Okay. For you guys don't know, Razor Pages is a MVC architecture, and there's also MVC. So I don't know if you're talking about MVC or just the pure Razor Pages. It doesn't matter either way. But those pages by default will be like what you call post-pack forms applications, which means that everything is processed on the server. So it means you have to initiate an action and you push it back. JavaScript doesn't behave that way. So it can run, where it doesn't have to refresh the whole page to send a request back to the server. So do you want to build it with React? Depends on if you want to build it with React or not. So if you want a JavaScript front end, I think React's appropriate with Web API. I think if you're looking at .NET Core, which is Razor Pages is, then you'll be looking at Web APIs anyway, either way you do it. So I think if you want a JavaScript front end, build it with React. If you don't care, I think you could probably get there faster with Razor Pages because you can just CRUD a lot of your apps, or you can have a mixture where your front facings are done with React and Web API, and then maybe you have some back end like maintenance pages that are just Razor. But I think either way will work. I think probably what you're going to do is pick something like a JavaScript front end with React. So I think either one will be fine. And it also depends on what you know and what you know how to do and those kind of things. So if the team is coming off web forms and all they know is web forms, it may be easier for them to like go over to just a pure Razor Page project than trying to learn something brand new like React. But, depends on what the team wants to learn and what they want to do. I think either way will work fine. But that's the cool thing about .NET. Like, you definitely can build a Web API backend and then hook any JavaScript UI framework that you want, whether that be like Bootstrap, Angular, React, Vue, all of those will work. So, if I was starting one today, which I am, I'm building it in .NET Core and Razor Pages. So we're building a little project in that, but it's very small. And then we actually may come back and retrofit a JavaScript front end when we're done. So, I mean, you can even just use jQuery and, those kind of stuff when you want to. You don't have to do everything in React. It's kind of cool. Hopefully that helps, Troy.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. There's actually a similar question from Jordan too, or similar in terms of choosing or making a choice here. Having a hard time choosing between C#, .NET, Python, and JS as a main coding language to specialize in.
Yeah, so I think there's you need to know specifically for web development. You need to know two things. I think you have to know JS. So JavaScript's going to be in your tool belt no matter what you pick. All right. And then I think you need to know what we call a systems language or a backend coding language like C#. That's what I would pick. C# and JS is the two things that I think you can, and then use ASP.NET to build your web apps in. I think that's more in demand than a Python JS pure stack.
Yep.
So
and what about JS all the way through? What you thinking?
You can do that with Node. I mean, so like that's called JS and Node JS or Dino or whatever whenever that becomes more mainstream.
Yeah.
But like I think that both of those are in pretty good demand. C# has a lot more, I think. It's more scalable, but for most sites, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to difference between a Node.js running and an ASP.NET application running. But when you think about your broad skill set and you know C# and .NET and ASP.NET, it's real easy to build, say, a Xamarin project. It's easier to build, say, a microservices project. It's real easy to build, say, Windows or a desktop application, because all those skills you can transfer the language over to all those different front-end frameworks. The other thing people aren't considering is what's happening.
Okay.
And where this is all going. So by 2021, we may not have to choose the difference between a website, a mobile site, and a desktop site. So Microsoft can get this to where it can run in all places.
This is something that's been happening for a while, right? This is something that I remember hearing about this for a longer time.
Right. And so like native apps, what we call native apps, where that be native on the phone devices, the mobile devices are native to the desktop. And it's going to blur between that and a web application. And what is it? What is the markup language? And then these things will just compile to the different platforms.
Right.
So, and they're getting there. And so you can already see that with Xamarin. So Xamarin is something that you can compile to iOS and Android. So now with .NET MAUI, which will be next year, a year from now, which isn't a long time, that will allow us to, like, theoretically, that's what they're saying. We got to see them actually prove it, that it'll build across all the platforms. So,
yeah, very cool. Yeah, that's cool. Troy said, by the way, haha, I'm the whole team.
Oh, he's the whole team. All right, you can pick what you want then, man. What do you want to do, Troy?
You don't have to convince anybody other than maybe your boss.
Exactly. Yeah. So like if you want to invest the time and learn React, like a JavaScript front end, yeah, man, it's cool. I mean, like, yeah, it's definitely cool.
Yeah. And Maverick knew that we would say C#.
Yeah, he knew we would. So we would. Yeah,
he knows as well. But we have our reasons.
Yeah. And so like the other thing that people underestimate,
because we love Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Bill we hang out. So we go get burgers together. So the other thing that people underestimate is the tooling. So the tooling also makes you highly productive. And I think Visual Studio and VS Code are some of the best.
And actually, somebody put this down here. Look, coding in Visual Studio kind of time consuming.
No.
Do you think it has a learning curve? I think it has a learning curve, but I think it's one of those things that like, but so does like, exactly. So does like, so for me, from a video editing standpoint, Premiere has a learning curve, right? But once you've mastered it, it's like you can zip through stuff and I can pull something together quickly. And Visual Studio is that kind of application.
Yeah. I think, so consider this. So like you take your classic full stack JavaScript project, all right? To get everything that you want to do on like a standard project, you got to bring in a lot of third-party libraries to make it all work. With Visual Studio, it's all like self-contained. It doesn't mean that we don't have NuGet packages or anything else that we add on, but say something like ORM, like Entity Framework, is built in. For something like Node, you got to go get something and apply it, and so like there's just a lot more or a lot less that you have to do to get up and running very quickly. And that's where I think people don't understand. Now, is Visual Studio, like, can it be like off-putting the first time you see it? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. But, when you consider that authentication authorizations built in. You consider like ORM, like Entity Framework, your database access is built in. And then with Razor Pages and scaffolding, all of that is built in, and like you can be up and running with the database CRUD app in minutes after you type out your models. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Alfredo here says, I only use .NET C# for Web API, ASP Core, EF Core, and Identity, for SPA, React.js, and mobile Flutter, Dart. He hates Xamarin, and Blazor has yet to mature.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder why they hate for Xamarin though. I guess it's probably maybe if you're into Flutter, maybe you already know it. Like maybe that's a reason to not use Xamarin if you're only doing.
I've been saying this for
Android.
a year now. There's 3 ways to do mobile currently right now, and I think there may be more, but there's 3 main ways, and that one of those is Flutter, the other one's Xamarin, and
Kotlin,
Swift.
Was that the other one? Was Kotlin one?
Swift.
Was that the thing?
Well, no, Kotlin and mobile.
Is that a different thing?
Google stuff, and then you have React, obviously React Native. So like, so I don't think you pick Swift because if you're trying to build for Android, it means you got to write twice. So like that really leaves 3 where you have React and you have Flutter and you have Xamarin. And so what's so funny about it is like I hate Xamarin, but you got to realize that Flutter's built by Google, React's built by Facebook, and Xamarin's built by Microsoft. So pick which company you think is going to like produce the best tooling. And then Xamarin tooling is pretty good. I mean, so I'm not saying Flutter's bad, or I'm not saying React Native is bad. I'm just saying that they're all 3 have their place. I don't know which one of these is going to win. Yeah. So, and I think all of this landscape we're fighting over, shall you use Flutter or not, could drastically change in 12 months. When Microsoft comes out with something that says, okay, you just pick the compile option. I don't care what you're writing or what kind of app you're trying to build anymore. We're trying to obfuscate you from that. Oh, you want to build a website? Just compile it to a website. Oh, you want to build a mobile app? Compile it to a mobile app.
Right.
You know, and then you have progressive web apps which run on mobile. It's another thing as they improve that could be something that could really maybe be the downfall of native apps anyway. And then you don't have this discussion anymore. So like that's why I think as developers, especially if you're a working dev right now and say you've been doing this for 2 to 3 years, you're not just starting right now. Like Alfredo obviously is a working dev, is you got to keep your mind open to where the industry is going to be doing, and you should be looking into other things on the side, you know. But Blazor, I mean, that's harsh though. Blazor's only been out for a minute, man. So give it a second.
But maybe that's the point though. He's not using it yet because it's like not at a point where
maybe that's what he's trying to say. It's not
maybe.
Ready for prime time, and I agree with that. Yeah. It's not ready for prime time. I was using something in Blazor this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to demo some Blazor today, but like my demo's not quite ready yet. But I may show you kind of what Blazor's about here in the next week or so.
Cool.
Which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Alfredo also said learning .NET at a high level takes between 1 and 2 years. It depends on what you mean by that. I'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Then migrating to other languages can take days or even hours. Certainly days, which is actually another question down here too. How hard is it to jump from Python to C#.NET? So in a similar vein.
So C# is object oriented. So it could be off-putting at first.
Oh, Python is a procedural language only?
Yes, scripting. So like,
okay.
You know, but C# type safety object-oriented programming language could seem kind of more difficult to jump into off the bat. But the performance gains, the things that you can build, and the way that you write code is definitely superior to that.
Right. So back to the point about learning .NET.
We know you can teach it in 12 weeks.
we know you can teach it in 12 weeks. And I wouldn't even call it like a high level, but it depends on what he means by .NET, because .NET is massive. We've talked about how wide .NET is before.
Yeah. So we're talking about ASP.NET. So like
we're talking about very specific building web applications.
So we're building web apps in 12 weeks. We're teaching people to build web apps. So they walk out of here of the boot camp with 3 what I would call business level or major .NET projects, ASP.NET web applications. So that's what they build while they're here. After
a year, you should know it at more than a high level if you're doing something with it every day, I would say.
Yeah.
Here we go. What's Anderson saying here? For this new world, I'm guessing after COVID. Yeah. Would it be better try full stack web developer or may still C# and .NET?
So what we're saying is full stack. That may be like a translation thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But full stack web developer is what you need to focus on today, right now. Looking at like the outlay of the next 12 months, and that is ASP.NET with C#. That's what we recommend that you should. If you don't know anything at all, and you're just saying, hey, in this next COVID world, and I want to be a full stack web developer, we think you should pick ASP.NET and C#. Now, depending on where you live, to see kind of what's available in your area, look at job postings and see what people are looking for to do. Talk to recruiters in your area to see what they're recruiting for, and then pick it out. But full stack web dev is the way to go, and there's probably 2 or 3 really mainstream ways to do that. ASP.NET, I think, being the most popular, but obviously Node.js is pretty a big deal too.
Yep. So definitely looking at the job market in your area is the top key there, and asking employers, or at least looking at what employers are using. Remember, the pitfall that you can fall into with this too is asking your buddy developer friend his favorite language. He's going to say that it's Dino or something. He's going to say like he's doing JS with Dino. It's going to be like, then if you ask him clarifying questions, yeah, and how do you do that at work? No. How much money have you made doing that? Nothing. What do you use at work? He's going to tell you something like Python or C#. It's so you got to ask clarifying questions there. It's not what the favorite language is or what's like hot right now. You got to pick where the jobs are at. So and we give this advice for just the job title as well, full stack web developer. You may ultimately want to move into something else, but it's a place to start.
Yeah, Anderson had another one there. He says here, full stacks are JS and HTML, CSS, and I'm like, that's true and false. So like, yes, you can write.
So there's no back end on that. Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, it's no JS back end. But what we're talking about is the back end being written in C#, and you have a client and a server. And we're saying that as a architecture, full stack web applications consist of a server side language running server side and a front end language like a JavaScript and HTML, CSS. So no matter how you do it, you got to have a server side processing that can be done with Node, or it can be done with C# or Java. And so like we think ASP.NET C# is the best platform starting out. But if you already know Node.js and you're making money doing that, keep doing it, but just pay attention to where the market's heading.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Mohammed's run off. Look, he's like, sorry, he's going to watch the Xbox live stream. I thought that was tomorrow. I thought I was going to watch that tomorrow. I don't know. There's some
Xbox had the wrong stream time. We've been here. We own the 12 o'clock.
Yeah. What are they doing?
Spot, man.
Can you call Bill and tell him like what is going on?
Bill up and say, man, you got to move your streams to 1. Wait till we get off.
What's the Xbox guy? Is it still Major Nelson? Is he still the Xbox guy? I think he is, right? He's the guy that runs the whole... Are they just talking
about the new Xbox? Is that what they're talking about right now?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Okay.
Well, then all those cool tech specs about why it's an underpowered PC. Oh, too soon?
Yeah. No. I may have both this season in Destiny.
But I'll buy one. I'm totally...
I may have an Xbox and a gaming PC. We'll see.
I'm getting all of them. I'm getting a PlayStation, an Xbox, and a gaming PC.
I've never owned a PlayStation. So
PlayStation's good. I have a PS4 now. It's good. But I play Xbox more. But I play PC more now. So yeah. What's Maverick saying? I think he'll learn Firestore. Is it Firestore? Firestorm first, then I'll do SQL.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually saw an article based on this. And actually, I have it up here. Look. We were talking about this yesterday. So we did the meme with little Bobby tables yesterday, which I thought was great. It was a great meme. And then this morning I saw a story. The story, look. I thought it was interesting. There's apparently this ongoing database Meow attack. It says, I love the headline. The Meow attack attacked over or nuked over 1,000 databases. So they wiped out a bunch of databases without telling anyone why. So I'll tell you the why. Because they can. It was easy, and they're unsecured databases. So if this thing affected a whole bunch of like companies who were running a couple of different types of databases. It was Elasticsearch, MongoDB, and Cassandra files, mainly Elasticsearch and MongoDB databases. And they basically wiped everything out in these things and just left the word meow. That's
it, man.
Like, so whatever database you use, make sure that you secure it. I guess that's the moral of the story here. Okay, let me scroll back up here a little bit. What's Adam say? .NET secretly became the fabled write once, run anywhere holy grail. I think that is the plan.
That's the goal, and then I think they're going to get there. I really, really do. When you look at successful things like Xamarin, and then now where the desktop and mobile can kind of merge. You can build the front end with XAML still for all three of them. I think those are going to unify, and then you have one common .NET 5 underneath all of those things. And so, once Xamarin moves to .NET 5, then it can, they can work on the compilers to make it do what it needs to do. I think it is. Yeah, definitely.
So Andy Weber here, thanks for the comment / question here, Andy. So it's just starting out learning web development. It's just not fond of Microsoft ecosystem at all. I don't know. At all is a little harsh. You can just be not fond of it. Is .NET C# not for me?
I guess
so. I guess as a complete learner, it can be kind of daunting because if you start looking at the tooling with no guidance, it can be like, wow, okay. You first load up Visual Studio and you're like, you have no guidance for it and you're not done a tutorial on it. You'd be like, wow, just installing it asks you a million questions.
Right. Yeah. So I think the tooling, you'll find tooling is very superior to most of the other tooling out there, Andy, and I think that you'll like it. It's just going to have to take some commitment to doing it. I'm not sure what you mean by not fond of the ecosystem. That's fine. But if you're just not going to out of just, you don't like it, so therefore you won't learn it, then learn something else. I think that you can learn something else and be successful. We're not saying this is the only way to do it. It's a really good way though. So,
we know you can make money doing it. So that's why we teach it. That's why we teach it to our students. Don't not do it because you don't like Bill Gates's policy on vaccines. That will be the stupidest reason ever, which I've heard from somebody. That's the dumbest reason ever. I don't know. This conspiracy theories about Bill Gates's policies on vaccines. Like,
he believes in
Bill Gates is not about. He does. He's not an anti-vaxxer, so he believes in vaccines. He's not going to microchip us all. Like, this is not going to happen. Conspiracy theories are not a reason for not coding in .NET. Let me just say that. Or using a PC or using Windows or buying an Xbox. The dude isn't even at the company anymore. Like, it's not even if he was, it doesn't. It's the silliest reasons I've ever heard.
So I think it's good. I mean, and so when you see C# support going everywhere is another reason to learn it, so that from microservices to machine learning to all these things with Azure coming out, knowing C# will be definitely beneficial to your long-term career.
Yeah, they seem to keep extending the things it can do too. I mean, you go to the .NET website every so often, you'd be like, oh man, okay, they've launched whatever it is, ML.NET or whatever it is over the last few years. It's got bigger and bigger and bigger. They're doing stuff all the time. I'm going to put these comments out of order, but Coding After 30s here. He said, I love my Mac, but at work we use PCs. What are your thoughts on doing dev on a Mac? It's a little off topic, but it's on topic for you because you've switched.
I've switched. What I'm doing is I'm running Parallels on my Mac, and so I'm still mostly coding on Visual Studio and VS Code on Windows. I'm using Parallels to do it.
And the cool thing is Parallels is seamless because it lets you run an application in a Windows OS, but your main OS and all of your Chrome and everything is still Mac OS, right?
Right, and then I can run Visual Studio on Mac or VS Code on Mac, which I've done. But right now I'm still coding on Windows, even though I have a Mac dev machine. And the reason I bought a Mac was because of the hardware specs that I could get on it. I could have bought a Windows machine, but with Xamarin, I wanted to be able to compile.
Are there differences in this now? Are there still differences?
But I don't think there's.
I don't know. So VS Code, I know for sure, is practically the same. I have a Mac and a PC, and they're the same on both. Visual Studio might be a different story. Visual Studio used to be very different.
Yeah, I think it's closing the gap. You can read about it, but I'm pretty sure that you can be very productive with Visual Studio on Mac. But you also can buy Parallels.
Yeah, which is a way better experience than it used to be. If you've ever done it in the past, I remember playing with Parallels when it first came out, and it was so glitchy. Yeah. It was really bad. Now it's seamless. You almost don't even know you're running an application in Windows. It's that good.
Yeah. So this is a comment here. We'll just go ahead and do this one. He says .NET is the best, but not many people are running it.
Depends on where you are. Yeah.
I'd say a lot of people are using it, man. So.
Yeah, I don't know where you're at, Rohit, but like here, definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of people using it. Go to we should do a study at some point about like Fortune 500 companies that are using it, because it's a lot.
All of them.
Like you start looking at like, so where we are in North Carolina, we're a big banking hub. The banks all use it.
All of them.
Wells uses it. Bank of America uses it. Whatever, they're all using it.
Yeah.
And trust me, they have a lot of employees at these places.
Right. And that doesn't mean they're not using JavaScript and they're not using other things. They're using .NET though, for sure. Yep. And like, don't just because like you saw some startup pick JavaScript for it, don't think that's what the majority of the people are doing. They're using .NET a lot for a lot of things, and a lot of big companies are using it.
Yep. Victor says they were talking about the difference, I guess, between PC and Mac running Visual Studio. The difference is minimal, and I think that's true these days.
Yeah.
This is more friendlier on a PC. I think it's just been there longer. I think it's probably less prone to having issues than on a Mac. It's still a fairly new application. I think it was last year that their full version came out for Mac. It's always been sort of a weird version. It's been there, but it's been a weird version.
So is Enterprise only WCF Entity Framework, .NET, anything else? No, what I'm saying is the enterprises largely use .NET as a core thing that they do. And when we say enterprise, we're talking about large companies, which a lot of the jobs are when you look at these. But small companies too use it, because we place people here at Coder Foundry into jobs, and so we're finding .NET jobs in shops of one. As Troy said, he's the one guy, he's using .NET right there, so that is a very common scenario here in the U.S. stateside, where they have some internal line of business application, like an inventory management or something like that they're trying to do. And they've built that out with ASP.NET. I mean, right now we work for companies that have projects, and right now we're building things in ASP.NET and single R, a big chat app. So that's kind of cool. We're building mobile apps in Xamarin and for companies. So we use it a lot. So they use a lot of things, JavaScript being a lot of things. There's a lot of, you'll come across a lot of things as you expand the places where you work. But and WCF is being phased out versus Web API. So Web API being the predominant way to build these RESTful services. So.
Okay. Troy said he thinks Microsoft should have picked a different name other than Xamarin. So they didn't actually pick it. They bought it. So they could have changed it, I guess. But
it'd be called .NET Maui. So
yeah, I don't trust Microsoft to name anything. Come on, the new Xbox. What's it called, man? It's like their naming conventions are terrible. Talk about confusion in anything. It's their Xbox X. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand. Like, you're confusing everybody. Like, you're confusing everybody.
It's the same thing with .NET 5 when .NET 5 came out. But it was .NET Core 3 and then .NET 5. And so what people didn't understand was .NET 4.8 and .NET Core. And we talked to Hanselman about this, and he said, well, we just had to have a bigger number.
Yeah, a bigger number. That was that was 100% the reason why. It's no other thought went into it. Right. They sat around for 30 seconds and be like, what's it called? I'm like, .NET 5. Okay, let's roll with it. They just went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Naming is not their strong suit. So the fact that they got Xamarin, which is not, I don't think is a bad name. is only because they
well,
built it.
I'm used to it now, and a lot of times, you got React. I mean, that's not a this. I mean, Flutter is Flutter a good name? Flutter.
I don't know, but I think outside of his
work.
Here's the problem with Xamarin, though. It starts with an X and it has an A, so you have the Z sound. So I think it just throws a lot of people off. I get it. I get it.
And then they rename it. Yeah, they do rename things a lot. So,
Yeah, you're right. They'll merge it into something else and just rename it something else. Yeah.
What about this question here?
What's Jordan saying? Is C# a good language to start with if you're completely new to programming, or should I be focused more on JS or Python? I'd like to be freelance eventually. Good question.
So you need to learn JS for sure, and then you need to decide what you want to build. So if you're going to be freelancing in web applications, C# is good to start with. If you're going to do data science, Python.
Yep. So we'd also suggest starting with JS too, right? Yeah. Start with JavaScript over C#. You got to. I mean, in terms of learning, it definitely has an easier learning curve.
Right. Yeah. And you have to. So it's just
because you get because you get needed anyway.
The server-side language, I think C# is a good choice. JavaScript for sure. All right, cool.
Let's see. What's this event saying about Xamarin here? If you have an underlying platform experience or background, I found Xamarin to be the best option, hands down. Xamarin Native doesn't limit you like React Native or Flutter do.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Like I said,
and I'm assuming you've used all three then, Esteban, too.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yep. What else did he say? He always says a follow-up comment too. Xamarin is the closest to low level or the bare metal of each respective platform. Feels like I'm just writing an iOS app in Xcode or Android app in Android Studio, but with all the perks of C#. Yeah, see, that's what's cool. I think that's what some people misunderstand. They feel like it's an abstract from the core, so you're going to lose something. But it's not written that way, is it?
Mono, and then Xamarin team is making sure that the things that are active on iOS and Android are available to you in mono. So that's their job, is writing the in-between. This is truly native and means that it does compile to iOS and it compiles to Android. There's actually two ways to build stuff in Xamarin. So it's Xamarin native, which he's right. You can build your UI specifically in Xamarin native, so you can take advantage of something that's particular to iOS or particular to Android, controlling, tooling, features, layouts, and you can keep all of those separated and share code in the middle, or you can use something called Xamarin Forms, which will compile down to iOS and Android, and you can write one UI. So there's a couple ways that you can build out in Xamarin.
And I'm assuming that has some kind of limitations that are like if your iOS only does something very specific that's specific to iOS, that it won't. Okay, and likewise for Android.
You're writing that particular feature in Xamarin native.
Okay.
So if you want to take advantage of something that's completely different on iOS over Android.
But think about how much more beneficial that is too. Just writing that one little thing that does that one specific thing versus the whole thing twice.
Yeah, exactly, and you still share code.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Then it has a well-known consolidated market enterprise at Blazor. They want to compete with React, Angular, Vue, etc. Well, yeah.
I don't think that's the whole intention, Alfredo. I think WebAssembly being a standard is really what everyone's going to, so that you can write more performant applications in a browser.
So Blazor is just Microsoft's version of WebAssembly then? Is that correct? Okay.
That's their implementation of WebAssembly on the client side, and they also have a server side of Blazor too. And so and it's probably the most feature-rich implementation of WebAssembly right now. I mean, I think there's other people working on it too. So I don't think it's necessarily that Microsoft says, hey, we got to throw out JavaScript. I don't think that's the goal. I think it's like, how do you build Premiere in a website?
Right.
And that's kind of like, how do you do those kind of things?
Yeah.
So that I can blur the line between a desktop app, a mobile app, and a web app. And like I said earlier, this is where this is going. And this is what people are trying to figure out, because, and you can't do that with JavaScript right now. Not at any, with some of these larger kind of harder things to do. Right. Yeah, you can write a to-do app in JavaScript. You can also write it in Blazor, and you're not going to see a difference.
Yeah, try making Photoshop.
Photoshop or Premiere or other things that they want to do. And so that's where they're trying to bring the desktop into a web app so that you can simplify delivery, still deliver it over the web. And so you don't have to like deliver to the desktop, and you can isolate from the differences between, say, a Linux box running it or something like that. So that's what WebAssembly is really the goal of WebAssembly to do. So you can write something truly performant in there. Still compiles with JavaScript though. But yeah.
Okay. Where was I here?
So I like the Jacob question here. You see Jacob? So
okay, pull it up.
It's kind of funny.
C#'s the way to go. When the TAs at your Modern Bootcamp say they learn C# to land a job. That's funny.
Yeah, they probably did.
That's that's funny.
So I understand why some boot camps do this, and it's not that they're bad or anything like that. I mean, there's some JavaScript boot camps out there that are larger than us, and they do a great job.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guarantee you that knowing C# is not going to hurt your career.
Right.
I promise you it's not.
Right.
So if you're going to learn something, you might as well learn it because you're going to end up doing it anyway. And so if you're paying for education, you can do that.
I can't remember who came here. There was another person who was here a lot and joining us on YouTube. Went to a JS bootcamp, I think it was, and then got the job and then had to learn C#. I forget who that was.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had several people go to boot camps and then come to our boot camp because they needed to learn C# because that's where the jobs were. So like they came from Utah, they came from all over the place.
Yeah.
They end up coming, and we're one of the few .NET boot camps in the country. So like there's not a whole lot of choices in the boot camp world when you're learning .NET.
Yeah, I remember specifically somebody came with Ruby. They went to a Ruby boot camp when those were like the hot thing. And where are they now? But they couldn't get a job using it. So they came to us and they got a job immediately after finishing using their background.
So Maverick is on to us, man. He says, what about the memes? He's here for the memes.
I know it's mid-show, but what about the memes? That's funny. You want me to roll the mid-show? We're not even. I think we're past mid-show now.
We're past mid-show.
I tell you what. Here you go.
Maverick's there you go.
Let's do it, because I did. I picked your. Actually, I picked one of your. The first one that you picked you put up this morning because I thought it was it's good. It was a YouTubey one, and I liked it. So here we go. This is what we're going to do.
Thanks, Kevon, for the $5 there on the super chat. Thank you.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, thanks, Kevon. If you have a question to go along with that, let us know. We'll make sure that we get to it. So here you go. I thought this was great, and it's very, very true. It's the dude. He's learned C# in one video, and he's like happy about it. And then he's like, and the video is actually 35,000 minutes long.
Yeah,
this is very true for a lot of stuff on YouTube, and it's a trend with YouTube videos now is to put everything in one video. Some of them are seriously like 24 hours long. That's no joke.
Full disclosure, and I probably shouldn't call them out, but they're so large anyway, and they're really good at what they do. So I'm just poking fun at you guys. So don't hate me for saying this. But we wanted to get content on Free Code Camp, and our stuff is too short.
At one point. It's too short. But it's 2 hours. Like, it's like, it's got to be like 4.
Boys, we need an 8-hour video.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny.
Kind of funny and true.
I thought I'd made a long video when I did, my Fizz Buzz the movie, hour and a half.
Right.
Free Code Camp's like, nah, bro, that's a short film compared to us. We need that
epics.
Epic.
Yeah.
We need the whole trilogy of Fizz Buzz.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So there you go, Maverick. I like that one a lot. It was super good.
All right, cool.
Let's see here. So actually, Kevon too, you super chatting me actually helps me with something too. So and it reminds me. So when we switch platforms, we're going to do some more stuff with super chat. And this actually allows me to run a test on the system now that we have one in here, because now I can go test it and now I can go make sure that it's working. So thank you very much. I super appreciate it.
So if you have a question, let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
And he said, thanks. All right.
Cool. Awesome.
All right.
let's see here. What's Eric saying? .NET market in Chicago? Question mark.
Well, let's look. Let me.
Don't know. Let's go take a look.
Look right now. I'll pull it up. Okay. .NET developer, and we'll go Chicago.
Let's see what kind of companies there are too, because I'm interested in that.
I'm doing this live, so like, totally prepared.
Screen share. Let's see.
Well, so we're gonna do it live, Eric, and just we'll help you research your job search here. So I think this is right. Yep. So I'm gonna look over here. I'm looking over here. So like the Millennia Group, more than likely this is a
staffing company or recruiter of some kind, maybe
company. So but 3 years, which means
okay.
I would say this when we're talking about applying for jobs, this is 1 to 3 years, but they're also paying between 70 and 85,000. So they may be, it won't be for just super juniors, but with a good portfolio, you could probably win. You can win this job. I've seen Codefounder grads win jobs like this. So another kind of either consulting or staffing company here. So looking around here, entry level. Look at this entry level job right here. VB.
Ooh, click on that one. What is that? What does that do?
Yeah. So
what are they looking for?
VB.
These are always interesting.
Csharp, ASP.NET, web services, web API. I can make this a little bigger here. I can zoom in here.
Yeah, it needs to be a little bit bigger. Pull your mic closer too, by the way, because you got to look the other way.
Oh yeah, gotta go like this. So that's an entry level job, and this is the thing that's hidden about .NET, is that you can find a lot of entry level jobs. So there's just a lot out here. There's another junior one. And they're using a CMS and .NET modules in Barco. So that's kind of cool. So I think there's a lot of opportunities out here. So like, I'm just looking right now, this date posted within 25 miles of downtown Chicago. So that's kind of cool.
What did they come up with? 350 there, 342, I see. That's within a tight radius too, though.
Yeah, it's in a tight radius. So if I did, 50 miles, you have about 400 jobs.
Okay.
So depending on where you live inside Chicago, Chicago's a big place.
Yeah. And getting from one side to the other could be a nightmare.
Yeah. But there's .NET seniors and from juniors to seniors, contracts, remote jobs. I would say
some
if you're
healthcare stuff there,
you've got some stuff here. This has got multiple openings right here.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Depends on what your skill set is, but like, you definitely, the thing about Indeed is you can also do experience level. And so we could do something like entry level. And these are entry level jobs, 65. So just see kind of what's going on. And then also when you're searching for .NET, you also can do ASP.NET too. You got to put up a lot of your keywords. Definitely get them right. So there's several keywords how these can be classified.
Yeah, sometimes your search term like doesn't find the job because they don't put the correct thing that you're searching for in there, but it turns out that it is that.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
You can also search for like things like, even if you're not doing like C# specifically, let's say that you're looking for a job that it's just a front end job of some kind too.
Right.
Those are often hard to search for in something like this. But just searching for something like HTML and digging through that list, you can find some crazy stuff in there.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So anyway, so that's the job market there in Chicago. I think it's robust. And that's in the middle of COVID too, man. Like, so here in North Carolina, when we saw COVID, we were seeing like maybe 100 new jobs a day, and it went down to 10, but that's still 10 new ones a day. Whereas if you're working in the restaurant industry, there's zero.
Yeah, it went away.
Or negative.
Yeah.
So like if you're working at some other customer service jobs, they could also be going down. And so whereas .NET will be able to keep you employed through downturns, even in things like COVID where we shut down things. It also allows you to work remote. And if remote becomes like where we think it's going to be, that means, Eric, if you live in Chicago, you don't have to necessarily work in Chicago anymore. You don't have to like just know Chicago. You can probably work in a lot of places. So that's one thing you could do at Indeed is just search for remotejobs.net and look in the whole country. And that'll open up yourself too.
And I'm guessing that's going to get more and more and more at the minute. You're just going to see a lot more.
Yeah. So he says, looking at Bootcamp to start. Yeah, and you can come to Coder Founder if you want to. Coder Founder is virtually remote. It's full-time remote, 8 hours a day. Teachers with you every day, all day, coaching you through, getting you through the process. And then we try to teach you to interview, get that portfolio ready, and then help you through the job search. So, yeah, the difference is the thing I just showed you, our recruiters are probably calling in to those jobs, trying to find opportunities for people where they live. So, cool. Good question. What about this one, Kevin? I think Kevin froze on me. Let me pull him off here. So, tech with Estevan, Bobby's interview advices will spread like wildfire. I'm telling you, there will be the main issue tracker in every portfolio. That's possible. We could have that could happen where everyone's building a bug tracker for sure, and that would be very cool if that happened. But the reason we give that advice is because we're trying to show you like a project that shows business skills, like a database, authentication, authorization, front end skills, those kind of things, so that you can present that to an employer, and then the employer recognizes that that you know how to code. And that's different than showing something like tic-tac-toe. What's up, Kevin? How you doing? You back?
That's a first for me. My internet died. Like,
that's okay.
I don't know,
good, man.
But I'm back.
Yeah.
So, oh, look, you guys missed me. You did lose me for a second.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, that's funny. It stopped working.
Kevin.exe.
I just froze on screen. My screen just went like dead on here. It's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, another reason for switching over, maybe. It might have been my internet, though. Could have been. I think it's about to storm here, though, too. So it might be that as well.
That's good to cool it off, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Top Gun 2 is out now. Is it out yet, Evan? I do want to see that. I would watch that. I don't know, but I do want to see it. Looks interesting. I'd watch that. I like the first one. And it's Tom Cruise, so you know what you're getting. Like, yeah, exactly. It's not a surprise.
He actually flew those planes in that movie, though. That's insane.
Yeah, he's a guy that does a lot of his own stunts and stuff, isn't he?
No, so, just think about it. Like, like he launched a F-16 or whatever it is off of an aircraft carrier. You know how hard that is to do?
Because he's Tom Cruise. Like, I
know.
He's allowed to. That's the other thing. The fact that he's allowed to is
Mission
insane.
Impossible, the documentary. You know, Tom Cruise is actually that guy.
Well, that last one, remember, he did like break his ankle or whatever doing stunts on it. It's kind of crazy.
He flew the helicopter.
It's nuts. He hung out the side of that plane on the other one. Like it's crazy.
They're saying that Henry Cavill's character in that last one, or whatever it was called, yelling, scream that fool was going to kill us. That line was real because he came out of that thing.
I believe it.
And they caught it on camera and they used it. So
they used it in the film. That's awesome. Hassan, thanks for joining us so late in the day. We really appreciate it. Or so early tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's very cool. Thank you. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Let me see here. Manish, we're not overly familiar with the exact job market for .NET in India. Some people have told us that it is popular there. You just need to find your version of of Indeed, or whether you have Indeed or some version of that, and do your research on it, and find what you know to be like the popular frameworks or popular languages. So look up Java, look up Python, look up .NET, trying to find the jobs, and then learn that.
Yeah, I think there may be an international version of Indeed. I'm not sure. What I'm looking at is just I only used it in the US, but I'm sure there's another international version that has that listings.
Yeah. You just want to find whatever your local version of that is, wherever you go to find a job.
I like this one, Kevin. Read that one.
Guys from the Xbox cutting counting. Yes, That's it. What are these guys? Yeah, exactly. They know, man. They know. Plus, I mentioned PlayStation, so they don't like that either.
They know that we're overshadowing their stream. So,
Is it on right now? Do they really have their thing right now? I wonder. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on.
So while you're doing that, Joshua, we are using Indeed.com. So let me share my screen again, and you can see kind of what I'm doing here. You can see that it's Indeed. INDED. Can you take off the banner real quick there, Kevin?
Yeah, hold on. Let me I would love to. There we go.
The top one.
Yep. Oh, the top one? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And actually, Adam, too, you can post this in the chat too, if you could. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Hold on. There we go.
So it's just Indeed, and that's Indeed.com. Here, like where this shares, it doesn't show my browser bar, but like that right there is what you need to work on. And you can search by city, state, salary, remote, experience level, company. It's pretty cool. And what it's doing is it's an aggregator, so it's looking at a lot of different sites. So sometimes you do get duplicates in there because recruiters may post those in Monster and Dice or something like that. Another place you can check is also Dice. You can look at Dice too. DICE is another place you can look. So, and that's specifically a tech job search engine, what we use Indeed.
Yep.
So, all right. The other thing you can do here is you can set them up to send you alerts. So you don't have to come here every day. They'll just email them to you and you look at them. And I would advise setting up like multiple searches based on different keywords so that you can make sure that you uncover everything. So.
Okay. And yes, the Xbox thing is going on, so I'll just look at it later when
cool.
When I get the spec sheet, because it probably won't tell me anything and they probably won't show anything. Although, no, they will. They'll show Halo. We get to see more Halo is what we'll see.
Halo's coming, dude. Right.
That's it. Yeah, Adam put it down here in chat, so it's Indeed.com. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it.
And Dice.com too is another one.
Yep. Merrick says, "Hey, I'm Tom Cruise. I don't mind stunts." Yeah, that's pretty much how he rolls. Maverick wants to know if he was looking for a job, is there an opening at Coder Foundry? What would be the requirements?
So
are we hiring?
Yeah, we're not hiring right now, but instructors, you have to have a solid understanding of .NET and how to build applications. And whether you have 3 years of experience or 20 years of experience, you got to go through the boot camp. And depending on who you are, we want you to sit back and show you so you can learn how we do it instead of just jumping in trying to teach it. So when you do that, it makes you better because then you understand the methods of why we do what we do.
Right. Here's a great question. Like, is he Troy's question here?
Yeah, Troy.
Why do so many tutorials only use console to teach C# instead of building something real like other languages teach?
Golly.
We talk about this all the time, Troy. All the time. We're like, why are we doing this in a console here? I don't understand. Why are we building a console app? We'll go to these tutorials and it'll literally be the first thing that happens. It's like, okay, so you start new project, console, and we're like, why? Why are we doing this?
Right. Why were you?
It can build so much cooler stuff.
Yeah. So I think you should only be using command line to show your app if you're doing something like PowerShell, where you're actually doing something from command line. But like I've seen apps where it has read line and all that stuff, and they build menus in it. I'm like, why are we teaching UI that's non-existent? Teach them HTML. I think you need to know how to build things in the application you're going to build it in, whether that be a tutorial in Xamarin, tutorial in Windows, WinForms, or tutorial in web. You've got to like use where you're going to distribute it. Very rarely are you going to show your app in a console, with the exception of PowerShell. So, but yeah, I mean, you go to .NET 101 on Microsoft, man, and the first thing they're doing is a console app. It drives me insane.
Right. It is nuts.
Good question. I don't know.
That's Antonio, who is our director of education. He says he heard angels singing when Troy asked that question. That's too funny.
I mean, you know, and even inside of Coder Foundry, man, back in the day, we had this app that one of the instructors wrote. It was a console app, and you know, I was just so like, it just drove me insane. Like, why are we doing that? Build that as a web app. I mean, I like the concept, but like,
the concept was cool, but it needed to be a web app
or something, man. Like something.
Yeah, it needed something
better than console.
I have a couple of slightly unrelated things here related to a chat I had on Discord with Andreas earlier, and actually Andreas and Adam too. So Adam had to redo his Windows today. I guess his Windows crashed, and he had to redo it. And we were talking about backup solutions. So just for everybody here, please back up your stuff.
Okay.
But we had a student once come to us and say, "Hey, all that work I did at Coder Foundry, I've lost it."
Yeah.
My PC died and I've lost all my work. It was all on this one laptop and it died and he could never get it back again. And it was not backed up.
For sure should be in Git. That's your number one thing. The first thing you do is repo and make a commit and put your code out there.
Yep. It just reminded me to tell people, use Git. Please back up your stuff.
Yeah. So this is like, what language or framework would you use if .NET and C# didn't exist? But it does.
This is a hypothetical in a world where Bill Gates continued on with college. He graduated and created a pharmaceutical company and never invented Windows or came up with his version of the PC, and C# never came about. In that world, what would you be doing?
Yeah, but it does. That's what I'm saying. Like, what would you breathe if there wasn't oxygen?
Here you go. Antonio has the best answer for this. Whatever makes me money.
Hey, now, yeah, that's true. Yes, whatever makes me money.
It is. Yeah. We don't know what the world would look like if we didn't have .NET and C#, because it is interesting.
I mean, be something else. I mean, C# came around in 2002. Before that was VB.NET. I was doing that. Before that, I was doing VB6. Before that, I was doing Power Builder.
Yep. And you're not saying next week you'll be doing even .NET C#. No. If something drastically changed, Microsoft comes out and says, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Then you'd switch.
Exactly. So I would switch. Whatever makes me money. I like that, Antonio.
Yeah, that is great.
Well, it's lunchtime, man. So we've made it through.
It is. Oh, I have one more thing. Before we wrap up, because I literally just saw this, and I'm going to share my screen here so I can show you guys. Cool. I need some help from somebody. What do I do with it here? Right here, look. This is the general chat in Discord. If you haven't joined us on Discord, you can go in the link below and join us. Yeah. Let me just blow this up a little bit. Look at this. Whoever this is, your name right here, I need my name to be like that. So if you can hook me up with that, that'd be awesome. Look how that displays. Is this a custom thing in Discord? I don't know, but I want it. So if you can help me with that, somebody, that would be awesome.
One last comment.
At me on Discord.
Maverick said, my school project had to build a restaurant menu that works in the console with Java.
That says a lot about school projects, Maverick. That's the problem. What you should have turned in was a fully functional application for a restaurant, and be like, there you go.
I mean, you can't even print it. How's the restaurant going to use it?
I get the proof of concept and learning the concept part. I get it. Yeah. But when it's so abstract from how you would actually use it, you have such a hard time connecting the two when you do need to use it.
Yeah.
Because you're only used to writing it to the console. You're like, I have no idea how to display this stuff.
Right. So HTML is what you would be using that for.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just kind of how it would work.
That's funny. Anyway, but I hope you did it anyway, Maverick, and got an A for it.
You got an A. We hope you got an A. And we're sure you did. You're smart. So I'm sure you did. So question is, did you write it in a mobile app? That's what we want to know. Did you write it in a mobile app?
Yeah. You should buck the system and turn in stuff that you're not supposed to. Yeah. Don't do that. You get in trouble.
All right, we enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow with more things tomorrow at 12 noon, and hopefully Microsoft won't be on the stream.
We'll talk about the Xbox maybe.
We'll talk about the Xbox stream tomorrow. All right. Good luck. It's time for lunch. Keep coding, guys.
See you guys later.